So why did Jen McCabe call over to her sister at Fairview at 5:07 in the morning? We know Karen called Jen just before 5 a.m. to find out where John was. So why did Jen McCabe call her sister immediately after? It's strange to me that John was found at Fairview around 6 a.m. clinging to life. Considering the brutal extent of John's injuries, I'd imagine that something severe had just happened to him. Was 5:07 a.m. a signal call? Phone records show that the call lasted 38 seconds. I'm going to show you her testimony on it. You be the judge. My perception of Jen when she testifies, she presents like a defendant on trial for murder. Her memory is superb with anything that is not documented. And if it is documented, she has no memory of it. You know, a court reporter and police officer wrote it down. Okay.
But you did make another phone call that morning that you left out of both of those statements, didn't you?
I'm not sure.
At 5:07 a.m., you called over to 34 Fairview, didn't you?
Yeah, that phone call was erased but recovered.
If it's in my phone record, then I must have.
You're aware that your phone records actually show that at 5:07, you called to 34 Fairview Nicole Albert's phone, correct?
Correct.
It shows also that that call lasted 38 seconds, correct?
I'm not sure what it shows.
You actually spoke to your sister, Nicole, that morning?
I did not speak to my sister, no.
Keep in mind that this woman made several Google searches, and the only search that was deleted, erased, supposed to have been destroyed, was the most damning Google search of them all. House long to die in cold. 2:27 a.m. Unfortunately for Jen, Michael Morrissey in the States, that Google search was recovered. So do we believe her when she says she didn't talk to her sister at 5:07 in the morning? If that deleted call was never recovered, then we never know about it. Don't forget Jen's call to her sister that was picked up from John's cell phone that she doesn't want us to know about.
So that 38-second call went to voicemail?
I'm not sure. All I can tell you is I never spoke to my sister Nicole that morning prior to waking her up.
But you do acknowledge that you made a phone call at 5:07 to Nicole Albert, your sister, over at 34 Fairview in those early morning hours, right?
Yes, I learned after.
She learned after. That makes sense. Not really.
Later that morning of January 29th. And by the way,
I love when Jackson says, by the way, her mind is racing.
you do acknowledge that your phone records show that you called at 5:07 a.m. to your sister's cell phone, correct?
I don't have them in front of me, but I believe that is correct, yeah.
Yeah, because it can't be
Were you
refuted.
calling your sister's phone to alert her of something? Is that why you called?
No.
So when I hear about this 5:07 a.m. phone call, and when I see John's injuries, I've lived life long enough to know that a car will not leave bite marks. Even the feds hired their own experts. One being an accident reconstruction expert, came to conclusions that bolsters Karen's innocence. These experts opined that John's injuries were not consistent with being hit by a car. To me, John's injuries looks like he was attacked by a dog and beaten to a pulp by humans. Men. So, just a layman's opinion here. A layman's theory of what I think might have happened to John O'Keefe. Not proven, just my thoughts from the testimony that I've heard and evidence that have come out during these trials. I think Karen dropped him off at 34 Fairview. John went inside and, like the polite person he is, took off his shoes. As we know, those were his tactics in his own home. So I'd imagine that would spill over to anyone else's home, especially in a snowstorm. He made his way down to the basement where Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, and Chloe were all huddled around looking at photos. Per Higgins' testimony, I don't think they were really looking at photos. I think they were waiting for John. I think by the time John arrived at the house, until just before 6 a.m., he was likely brutalized, tortured, and tormented. The 5:07 a.m. call was the alert that Karen was looking for John. Did they need more time? Is that why Jen said to go over to Meadows first and made sure to slowly remove her boots in a time of panic before entering his house, buying time to make sure he was finished off and then dumped on the front lawn? I find that incredibly suspicious, mainly because none of you guys liked John O'Keefe, because what he was investigating right before he was found murdered on your lawn wasn't very good for your family. And we know that the McCabe's and the Alberts are a very tight-knit, close family. Blood.
Would you consider yourself to be close with your sister Nicole and Brian?
Yes, very close.
Your families, it's not just you and Nicole, your whole families are close, correct?
Yes, we have a very close family.
How long have you known Brian Albert?
Since I was in kindergarten.
You consider him, even though he is not blood related to you, you consider him family.
Yes.
In addition to Brian and Nicole Albert, you're also very close with Chris and Julie Albert, correct?
Yes.
Just to be clear, and I'm going to do this slowly,
Okay.
Brian Albert's younger brother is Chris Albert, correct?
Yes.
Chris Albert is married to Julie Albert.
Yes.
You consider Chris and Julie family, even though there may not be a blood relation as well, correct?
Yes.
Chris Albert is a Canton Select Board member, is that right?
Now he is, yes.
And before John's death, he corresponded with the Canton Police Department regarding certain activity in the area. Word on the street, it was regarding the Alberts. And what Jen and company will never tell you is that John and the Alberts had beef.
The Canton Police Department reports to the Select Board, correct?
I'm not aware.
You're not aware of that echelon?
No.
Something tells me she is aware.
You're aware that Brian Albert is was a Boston police officer.
Yes.
He had been a lifetime law enforcement officer for some 30 years before he retired recently, correct?
Yes.
He's a trained first responder, obviously.
Yes.
A trained first responder that heard loud sirens on his front lawn and
Brian
never
Albert
came
and
outside.
Chris Albert have another brother named Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
Kevin Albert is a detective with a police department, correct?
Yes, I believe that's his title. I'm not
Which
100%.
Which police department is Kevin Albert associated with?
Canton.
And you've grown up in Canton your whole life, you indicated.
Yes.
Your entire family has grown up in Canton, correct?
Yes.
And you, Ms. McCabe, have three sisters. Nicole, we've talked about. You also have a sister named Shelley, is that right?
Michelle, yes.
Michelle? Mm-hmm. And Denise, who you mentioned in your direct examination.
Yes. Yes.
What is Nicole's nickname within the family?
Coco.
So it is very, very easy to see that it's an extremely close-knit family.
Yes.
So, about that 5:07 a.m. call,